As much as I would appreciate him doing a DuckTales fanfic, I don't know if I could really support it. I mean, considering what happens on DuckTales, ducks and ponies don't really mix. Well, it seems that Disney's DuckTales reboot show ended on its third season, and I hear it was good. I haven't watched it yet, and the only thing that DuckTales fanboys ever told me about is that ducks and ponies apparently don't mix. I wish I knew what that meant. Maybe now that the show's over, maybe I can watch a little bit of with him. Who knows? But today we're going to be doing an MLP DuckTales crossover fanfic, and it's called Might Solve a Mystery or Rewrite History. So, sounds pretty interesting, and the title of the first and only chapter is Insert Moon Theme here. So based on that, I'm going to assume that Luna has something to do with this. So let's get into this. This is Might Solve a Mystery or Rewrite History. Solitude, anger, undirected rage, loneliness. She had been alone for so long, time had since shed all of its meaning. Her thoughts were a jumble. Inside her mind she felt a searing hot rage towards someone. Her name breaking through the darkness, Celestia. She had put her here, in this prison, as a form of punishment, to recount her sins, maybe even to learn from them. That implied that she had sinned. She just wanted to be appreciated. Was there anything wrong with that? For her night to be loved? After she spent decades perfecting it, painting a portrait across her night, the ultimate insult showed itself. She had been slighted, to be sure. Nobody ever showed any appreciation for her hard work, the blanket that encompassed them as they fell into dreamland. The skies began to broil, seemingly to match her fury. The deep black erupted with jagged streaks of white-hot light, the cosmos before her erupting in a shower of color, and rage gave away to heartbreak, in realization that this would not change her situation. How wrong she was. Air! Precious air! Della coughed and wheezed for her life as the oxychew filled her lungs. Disgusted by the flavor, she tossed the box aside and groaned, "Ugh, black licorice! It would lose its flavor eventually, right? Oh well, any port in a storm." And speaking of storms, Della thought to herself as she looked up at the world like a precious blue marble in a sea of black velvet, I don't know if mine's past or if it's just the beginning. Her boys! She had to get back to her boys. Oh God, she was such an idiot. They were only eggs, and she just left them behind to go on one more wild adventure. Jet, Turbo, and Rebel, don't worry, Mommy will be coming home soon. Now all she had to do was lift this scrap metal and, oh, this is gonna take some doing. Looking upwards, she saw the booster rocket hanging precariously above her. Worse yet, the wreckage pinning her still wasn't budging. She had to move it. With several angry kicks, it was becoming evident that this was going to be impossible. She looked at the wreckage pinning her, and then at her leg, and then at the wreckage as it dawned on her. Ah, phooey. And then she reached for a saw. Nothing would stop Della Duck. Neither rain, wind, snow, or even the moon itself would keep her from her boys. She already borne the scars of her first battle with the lunarscape, her leg now glowing with the metallic sheen in the sun's light. It cracked, groaned, and wobbled with every step, at least for the first few weeks, but eventually she found herself getting the hang of it. She wouldn't change it. After all as Rule 42 of the Junior Woodchuck Guidebook, the answer to life, the universe, and everything in her eyes, stated, build things right the first time and they won't need modification. And Della always built everything right the first time. It took a bit of getting used to, yeah, but all was well in her world. She wouldn't give up, even as the endless gray stretched before her with a sea of night above her. At first, true, she wanted to give up in despair, and the first few days were difficult. However, she did not dare to venture forth to the unknown only to give up so easily. This was the only minor hiccup, right? Work harder, make yourself better, and try again? Rule number 7 of the guidebook. All the same, even as she worked, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She knew it was silly, really. Maybe her mind was starting to play tricks on her. That it was the onset of space madness, or mood madness, or whatever. But every now and again, whenever she looked out at the horizon, she could have sworn she saw something out there. It looked like a horse, but that was impossible, right? Right? Maybe she was going mad. She couldn't even get close, as it appeared that whenever the horse realized it had been spotted, it galloped off. With a groan of effort, she began to lift a piece of nearly shredded metal. The crimson iron had been ripped apart in the crash, but it was still usable. Maybe she could repair. Of course she could repair the rocket. After all, stopping would mean she was calling it quits, and the woodchuck never called it quits. She needed shelter, and well, there was plenty of metal to go around right now, wasn't there? Build the shelter right the first time and she wouldn't have to repair it later. Rule 42 truly was the answer to everything, right? Where were her hammer and nails? Okay, so no hammer, but hey, a wrench could work in a pinch, right? You use what you got. Many moons passed. She wasn't sure of what exact number, but eventually she had a working shelter going on. Her hair had grown a bit longer, but meh, being stuck on the moon left no time for beauty care. Unless Rarity is involved, but I don't think Rarity is in this story, so what you gonna do?
If we were going to the moon, I'd insist she packed an evening gown. One never knows, darling.
God, she probably looked like a cave duck right now. When she got home, the first thing she was going to do was go to a spa appointment. Okay, second thing. The first thing she was doing was embracing her boys. Jet, Turbo, and Rebel must have already hatched by now. Fighting back a sob at the realization she had missed that, Della continued work. Bless me bagpipes, Della, you're going to be a mother. My little girl's all grown up. Why, I remember when you were just a wee bony lass about ye-high chasing old Ducksworth through the manor. Thanks, Uncle Scrooge. I just hope I can do right by my boys. I know you can, Scrooge had smiled then. I'm sure you'll be a great mom, and I can't wait to see your boys. I can't wait to know what they're like, and with the luck they'll inherit by your adventurous spirit. I'm sure they will, and who knows, maybe one day we'll get to go places we always wanted to go with them. Climb Mount Everest, go golfing with the druids, go see the pyramids. To your kids, Scrooge raised a glass. To my kids. There was that nagging feeling again. Okay, now she knew she wasn't going crazy. Whipping her head around, she saw twin eyes peering out at her from the darkness. They gleamed with an ethereal power, white as the new-fallen snow, before vanishing into the shadows. Well, if I ever get out of here, I'm coming back with Uncle Scrooge, Della said, even if common sense told her that nobody could hear her. Seems like something he'd want to investigate. Life on the moon, wow. Seems like a grand advent. Della paused. Wait a minute. Scrooge wasn't here. Only her. And there was the adventure of a lifetime right outside her doorstep. Well, it wasn't like her rocket was going anywhere, was it? All junior woodchucks must be open to the unknown in their quest for the truth. Rule number 2, and the truth is, I'm not alone up here. Grabbing a wrench and her pack, she set forth. Time to solve a mystery. She'd take the worst of messes and make it into a success. The grayness stretched out for miles, nothing but very soil beneath her flippers. Scared by the ages, the moon had been beaten and battered by that time, smashed into being by meteors ages ago, forming a timeless icon when viewed from the Earth. Humming a song to herself as she walked across the lunarscape, Della couldn't help but smile. Here she was, and despite being even trapped on the moon, she was unable to squash her natural curiosity. All of her life, she was told to be tougher than the toughies, and smarter than the smarties, and being smarter than the smarties told her to go forth. Taking a last look at the wreck of the Celine, Della let out a low whistle. She'd really stepped in it this time. The ship which once took her to the stars now lay a mangled mess of metal, mashed into a pulp with the jagged red steel pulled open like a can. A gaping hole lay in the side, exposing the interior to the elements. Della knew she should stay where it's safe. Common sense told her to stay there and work and toil through the weeks ahead and not take risks. But the Scrooge's side of her, the McDuck side of her, told her to see what was up. Could you blame that side of her? Life on the moon. Actual life! Assuming she wasn't going mad, which was always a possibility, but the Junior Woodchuck Guide told her to be open to the unknown, and the Junior Woodchuck Guide never lied. It was hardly even a difficult decision. She would be the first to conquer the moon and unlock its secrets. Fresh prints. Hoof prints. Now she was getting somewhere. Okay, so the moon wasn't cheese on the near side, honey on the far side, so that had to leave her questioning. What was this not-so-hypothetical creature to eat? Eep! Della squeaked out of a brief moment of fear. Maybe ducks too curious for their own good. It was then she noticed the shadow booming over her. Oh boy. Well, on the bright side, she knew it was a horse now. A horse with deep black fur, a mane made of stars, and oh look, it had fangs. Yep, time to run now. Intruders on her moon, trespassers. She was alone no longer, but now someone had scarred her lovely moon, and that begged justice for this slight. She had seen the hulking mess of metal smashed into the side of her tranquil lunarscape and disrupting the sound. An attack? If so, it was a pretty pathetic one. No, she had to think rationally about this. Who would attack the moon? It held no strategic importance. Slighting her was considered insanity. Explorers, maybe? One who had been foolish enough to forget about her? Well then, it was her duty to remind them that she was not to be crossed. She was the creature under a filly's bed, the monster in their closet, and the dark thoughts in the back of their mind. She was the one who made them wake up screaming in a cold sweat, shouting for mommy and shivering in fear. Oh dear, that was her other half taking over, wasn't it? Was that a maniacal laugh? Push it down, force her away. She was not her. Taking one giant leap and spreading her midnight-hued wings, she flew over the silent lunarscape like a giant mass of shadow. Surveying all that she held dear, the regent of the night and the tides was suddenly aware of a particularly irritating humming sound. Catchy, but irritating. Okay, it was very catchy. Gah, it would never leave her head now, wouldn't it, this song? Felt oddly fitting for her kingdom, honestly. Whimsical and full of wonder, but with a trace of fear of the unknown. What was out there? And what was out there was her. No, bad nightmare. Don't make her go and get the spray bottle and... Oh, penny feathers, she was starting to take over again, wasn't she? Well, nothing for her to do but to sit back and enjoy the ride, as it were. Lovely. Watching through the nightmare's eyes, she could finally put a face on that lovely tune, find its singer. Wait, who was that? Weirdest looking griffin she'd ever seen. Did a spell go wrong or something? Well, she was brave. Luna would have to give her that. Oh, and now she was running in fear. Curse those fangs. Oh, she had to explain herself. Apologies for her other half's extraordinarily bad decorum. It was simply bad form to scare some griff off before you could truly even meet them. Taking to the skies again, she flew after her new friend. Oh, come on, she wasn't that scary. She even retracted her fangs. Maybe it was the armor? Did that send off the wrong message? Landing beside her, she placed a hoof over her shrieking mouth, putting on her best winning smile. Finally, at last, she could speak to her new neighbor. Now, may we speak? Most wonderful of souls, explorer of the unknown and new resident of the moon and my kingdom? And her neighbor just fainted. Must have not experienced the royal Canterlot voice before. Had that fallen out of fashion? Oh, don't worry, Luna. By the beginning of Season 2, hopefully you'll have a better understanding of the royal voice. Ugh, my aching head. I could have sworn that I had finally gone crazy and was yelled at by a moon horse. A moon sword horse? Della groaned before looking up and nearly fainting again. She let out a shriek, shrieking back against the wall of her ship. Moon sword horse! Wait, was the moon sword horse rolling her eyes? Ooh, intelligence, Della said, curiosity hesitantly overcoming her fear as she scrambled up to the now slightly less frightening equestrian. Roll of the eyes, actual speech, and the capacity to care, as clearly you're one that dragged me here. Ooh. If I ever get back to Earth, this is going in the Junior Woodchuck guides. How to survive in space. That's gotta be worth a patch at least. Discovering new life? Yep, another patch. Luna eyed the babbling mutated griffin, trying to keep up with her excited rambles. Why did she always attract the strange ones? Ooh, Uncle Scrooge is going to be so jealous. Wait, you're not one of those kelpies I was warned about from Scottish legend, are you? Apparently they menaced the McDucks, that's my clan, for centuries, dragging them through the waters. Well, if you are a kelpie, then ha! You're fat out of luck. No water on the moon. And if you are a kelpie, you're oddly misplaced. I'm not a kelpie, Luna answered curtly. Well, yeah, no, you're not. I've never seen a kelpie with wings and a horn, a very lance-like horn, that and, oh dear. Della trailed off, making a little squawk of fear. The better to pierce you with, my dear. I shall not harm you, not while you are in my kingdom and therefore a subject under my protection. I'm one of your subjects? And wait, what's this about a king? Della trailed off before her eyes widened in realization. Wait, the entire moon is your kingdom? Okay, that is awesome. And now the strange griffin was hugging her. Okay then. Luna flushed. Well, it's not much, really. It's just an endless sea of gray, and honestly, you're the first subject I've had in a very long time. Della noticed the ashamed look on the moon sword horse seemed to bear, and decided not to press. She's all alone up here, isn't she? Last of a dying race, maybe? Or did she crash here like me? No, that can't be. I haven't seen anything else that resembles a rocket. Or maybe she didn't need one. She's magic, right? Maybe she sent herself here? But why? Is she an explorer like me? If that's the case, she has magic, why can't she go back? Unless... oh. Luna could see that the griffin was working it out in her head, bits and pieces of a larger puzzle slowly beginning to piece themselves together. You can't go home again, can you? She heard her new subject whisper out of sad realization. No, Luna said, shaking her head. And I doubt they'd want me anyways. That's, wow, that's heavy. Fair amount to unpack there. But I don't see why anyone wouldn't want you home, actually, Della shrugged. You're pretty boss, really. I mean, you've got wings, a lance-like horn, and once you get past the sharp teeth and the creepy glowing eyes, you're actually kind of metal. You're the strangest griffin I've ever met. You don't even seem to be remotely afraid of me, Luna observed. How interesting. Okay, I'm sorry, but a griffin? Della laughed. I'm not a griffin, I'm a duck. I'm flattered you think I'm a griffin, as those are awesome with their beaks and their wings and their claws. Maybe not so much the treasure hoarding and the man-eating, but I am a duck. Della Duck of the McDuck clan at your service. It is an honor and a pleasure, Della Duck of the McDuck clan, Luna replied, bowing her head. But if I may be so bold, I've never seen a duck of your liking before. Are you royalty of some sort? All the ducks I've known just swim in ponds, quack, and feed off of bread, fed by passing ponies. Wait, so there are more than one of you around? Oh, never mind, Della said, shaking her head. I'm getting distracted. No, I'm not royalty. I mean, probably would be to my kids, but I'm only a simple adventurer. An adventurer who got herself stuck on the moon, but it's a work in progress. I'll workshop it, find a way off this rock, even if it's the last thing I do. Yes, it isn't much, is it? Luna agreed with a bitter chuckle. It makes for a fine She stopped herself. No, too much information for now. Della Duck of the McDuck clan would be ashamed of her, horrified even if she knew why she was there. Did you say prison? You were about to say prison, Della said. So I was, Luna admitted. You're a very insightful Della Duck of the McDuck clan. You don't have to use the full title, Della replied. And in any event, I'm not that insightful. You're just easy to read, Luna chuckled again, still bitterly. Yes, I suppose I am, aren't I? Why were you, if I might be so bold? Why did you? Horrible things, terrible things, Luna sighed, her eyes showing their true age. They displayed a weary mare, once humbled by her own fallings, and one just wanting to go home again. I led a rebellion, an insurrection against my own kingdom, angry at the world, my own populace, for not accepting me for who I was. I was a fool, young and full of rage. That form you saw when we first met, remember it? It was. Hard to forget, Della laughed nervously, but still listening intently. It was born out of my own rage and malice, and so, taking that form, I was imprisoned here. Maybe to reflect on my own sins, I don't know. If you hadn't met me, I may have gone slowly insane. I may already be bound for the madhouse anyways. Time has no meaning here, Della Duck. You would be best to leave this place as soon as you can. Yeah, I want to. I have to get back to my boys. They probably hatched without me. Big shocker there, right? Yeah, I'm definitely my brother's sister. We both shared the same terrible luck. You're a mother? Luna inquired curiously, and Della laughed. I was about to be, yeah. I even have a picture, see? Della said before scrounging around her jacket with Luna hanging curiously over her shoulder. She, with a fond smile and slight wet eyes, clutched the picture tightly. Luna eyed the picture, obviously taken to the fonder time when all was well and right in Della's world. She watched with interest as Della pointed to each of the members of her family. See? That's me, obviously. That guy in the top hat and spats, that's my Uncle Scrooge, richest duck in the world. Heck, he'd probably be even richer right now. And there's Donald, my brother. Terrible luck, as I said before, which is only matched by his temper, but the world's best adventurer. And the boys you see in their eggs, Jet, Turbo, and Rebel. Those are their names, and I wonder what they'll be like. Hopefully one day I'll get the chance to find out. Della sniffed again, obviously lost, being stranded here and far from her family. Luna's heart went out to her, and while she had never known what it was like to be a mother and could only imagine it, she knew she had to get this woman back to her children. Wrapping Della in her wings, she held her close as the woman started to cry. "I'm such a recluse fool," Della chastised herself. "If I hadn't wanted to get on one last adventure, I might be with them right now, but I just wanted to show them the stars, that's all." "You wanted to show them the stars?" Luna asked, and Della, wiping away a tear, looked up at her. "Yeah, I always loved the night sky. It was thanks to it that the very first explorers would travel the globe and would find their way home. We owe a debt of gratitude to it, us ducks." And if Luna turned away to cry to herself, well, that was her own business, wasn't it? "If I can, shall I ask how you got stranded here? I must know," Luna pressed. "My rocket. It ran into some turbulence, a cosmic storm sprang up out of nowhere," explained Della, as she thankfully missed Luna's widened eyes. "Uncle Scrooge, that's what he must have been trying to warn me about, but I could barely make it out." "I see," Luna said. "That is, well, I am truly sorry for you." "Why would you be sorry? It's not like you caused the storm," Della trailed off before she noticed an expression on her friend's face, one of shame. "You did! I don't believe you!" Luna actually took a few steps back at Della's rage, the furious duck working herself up into a hot, steaming rant. "I could be safe and sound if not for you, with my boys and my uncle and my brother, but no, you had to create a cosmic storm. It's your fault I'm stuck here, and your fault that the Spear of Silence is damaged beyond repair, and..." Della descended into angry, incomprehensible quacking, tearing up the room with little and angry huff. Finally, she managed to regain just enough composure to choke back into a sob before pointing outside. "Go, just go." And as Luna trotted off, she was taking the skies. She lowered her head in shame. "Luna, you feckless idiot." Angrily, Della slammed pieces into place, not with the gentle grace of a swan, but the angry thundering of a god Vulcan. The Highlander rage was on full display as she worked and toiled, slamming steel and iron back into place, not creating anything of beauty, or perhaps even function. But she didn't particularly care right now. She checked to see if the systems would work later. Just anything to get her mind off of Luna, that darned mooned sword horse who was the sole reason why she was stuck on this accursed rock to begin with. Life's lesson, kids. Adventuring is tough. She practically snarled the words into her recorder, Luna still on her mind and refusing to leave no matter how much Della wanted her to. She absolutely could not believe she'd been stuck on the moon for almost a month now, away from her kids and away from her family because of one pony having a temper tantrum. She shouldn't even be in this mess. She should be back at the McDuck Manor raising her kids. Instead, here she was, slamming together nails with a wrench because of a freaking horse. Whoa now, can we please go light on the language, please? Thank you. You know, sometimes there's a cursed idol that turns into a demon, or sometimes you crash land on a moon where you meet a talking horse only for them to turn out to stab you in the back, Della grumbled. I'm sorry, boys. I don't think I'll make it home soon, and all because of one little pony, hey, who's not really a pony, and is more like a horse who's really just... She stopped, her voice breaking a little as it slowly dawned on her how much of an idiot she had been. Her wrench hit the floor with a clatter. "Just as lonely as you are," Della whispered. "Oh, Della, you fool, you probably just lost your only real friend here, but you still got your health, a cool robot leg, and gum that doesn't seem to lose its flavor. You're still on top, right? Right?" She looked to the starscape, hoping for an answer. "Right?" Obviously none came. "Right," Della repeated, slowly and more solemnly. Luna cried a little, her whole body shaking. She didn't even know why she had tried sometimes. Della was right. It was her fault that she was trapped there. "Sister, you sent me here for a reason. Why?" Luna pondered, looking up at her stars. "Was it to reflect on my mistakes? Yeah, you probably did a good thing, as I'm only now starting to realize what a temperamental fool I am." "Well, glad you finally admitted it." She knew that voice. She knew the dark shadow lingering over her. So, maybe you can come back to my side of thinking, I think not. Acting like you, it's what got me into this mess in the first place. Ponies may have liked my moon and my stars, for all I knew. I was just really jealous of the adoration my sister achieved. She was always the beauty and the wisdom. I was the bringer of dreams and the little sibling. So, you could have grabbed power, had it all. Again, what part of me rejecting your way of thinking don't you get? Has thou taken leave of thy mind? To put it simply, as the kids say, get lost. It is your way of thinking that has corrupted me and deprived Della a chance to really know her children. So, she hates you anyway. I'm the only one you can count on. Maybe Della hates me. Maybe she's right to. But I won't stop trying to make it up to her and get her home, somehow. And as for you, never again. Fine, you'll see, you'll come around. Until then, I'll be watching you and waiting for you in my realm. Please don't forget to write. Maybe Magica will be more interesting to talk to, eh? At least she'll be better company on the evil genius front. From one sorceress of the shadows to another, we can compare notes. Goodbye for now, princess. And good riddance. Luna sighed. Well, that was one problem solved. Now to work on the next. Swallowing her pride and gathering her courage, Luna trotted her way back to the ruins of the Selene. Miss Della, she asked rather nervously as she looked around at the remains but found no one. However, what she did find was green goop, which concerned her. The fallen princess had long since harbored suspicions that she was never alone on the moon, and she felt the shifting in the ground. Oh, sister, please don't tell me that my theories are true. If Della's really been captured, Luna thought, frantically looking around for her friend, maybe she was wrong. Maybe the goop was something else. An experiment, perhaps? Then how do you plan to get her back? You've lost your magic, Luna. This moon's kept you from using it. The elements work, no doubt, but you have to do something. She spotted the Junior Woodchuck guidebook, open to a page. Rule number 3, no matter how hard things get, never give up on a fellow woodchuck, she read. Well, I don't know about giving up on woodchucks, but I certainly don't give up on friends. Ah, there we go. Good to see that even back then, Luna still knew the importance of friendship being magic. Luna took to the skies, hoping to spot on any sign of her friend, and while she didn't see any feathers, she certainly did notice a big hole laying just outside the remains of the Selene. Well, nothing for it. 3, 2, 1. When there's trouble, you call me. Diving into the hole, Luna embraced the dark. It was her natural home, and long had she since learned to see through the shadows. Her eyes narrowed into slits, like those of a bat's. All creatures of the night spawned from her, and she bore all their abilities. Ping, ping, ping. Sound bounced and traveled through the deep caverns, and finally, after a few worrisome minutes, it bounced back. Luna gave a fanged grin, not one of malicious promising you pain, but one of triumph. Rocketing through the caverns, Luna smashed through a wall like an ox and kicked a massive green insectoid in the face. There, off to the left, was Della pinned to the wall by the strange green goop. Okay, I know you're mad at me, but... Mad at you? Why would I be mad at you? Rule number 3 of the Junior Woodchuck guidebook states, Della started, only to her surprise for Luna finishing her statement with an equal grin. No matter how hard things get, never give up on a fellow woodchuck. Additionally, rule number 72 states, always be fair to your fellow woodchuck. How did you? Della asked in a tone of amazed wonder. I may have had a small peek, Luna laughed and nervously began ripping through the goo with her horn. Rule number 7, work harder, make yourself better, and try again. I will inscribe to do all 3, and together we will get home, as fellow woodchucks, maybe, even. Della simply had a laugh at the simply adorable smile on her fellow woodchuck's face, and even climbed on her back. Well, I'm not sure if you're a junior anymore, but I think we can definitely get you in. It's open to anybody, after all. The Moonmite, as they both called it in later days, screeched in anger and spat at them. Okay, life lesson, Della shouted as Luna went into a dive to avoid the acid. Bug monsters? You're going to have to be worried about the pincers, but remember, the spit is corrosive too. We need to get out of here, Luna shouted as she flew down another tunnel with the Moonmite running after them at its surprisingly quick pace. Oh, I'm not arguing with you, Della agreed. I see you don't need to learn rule number 162. A junior woodchuck looks out for their fellow woodchucks no matter the cost. A friend looks out for their friend no matter what cost, Luna said in reply. It shouldn't even need to be a rule. Flying out of the caverns, they were back in the light of the sun. Whew, that was close, Della wiped her brow. but incredibly awesome. The days passed, the two getting into many more scraps, even as they worked together to repair the Celine. Open up your eye, take a look at me, get the picture fixed in your memory. I'm driven by the rhythm, like the beat of a heart, sang Della along to a Walkman song, even as she wrenched into a bolt with Luna dancing beside her. Woo! Music has definitely changed since I was banished, the once and future princess commented. Not that I'm complaining, you gotta believe that I got what it takes to stand out. And in their time, they went on adventures as well as getting to know their new home, such as now. Giant rats eat green moon cheese. Who knew, right? Della shouted as they then ran from a very angry rodent, impossibly large and glowing green with power. Anyone know how to build a better mousetrap? She asked her question as they dived under a boulder and sealed the rat in. Rule number 18, every action has an equal and opposite reaction, Luna commented, still able to kick like a mule, such as rat chasing you and me sealing it away. You pick up on these things fast, Della said with an approving grin, flashing her thumbs up. The green cheese of longevity, huh? What's it to an immortal princess? Luna mused, eyeing the treasure. Well, I hope it tastes good after all the work we put into finding it. I think my bruises have bruises. Even if it's better than Oxy-Chew? Luna asked, and her compatriot sighed in resignation and longing for better food. Even if it's better than Oxy-Chew. There were various other scraps as well, some of whom I won't get into, but one I will. The main one involved our old friend the Moon Mite. No, bad bug, Della called as she watched the massive insect tear away at the Serene and run off with the parts of it. Della then launched into what Luna guessed was an impersonation of her uncle. Tear them tartan! I am the richest duck in the world, but I couldn't possibly spare any insecticide. The two raced after the bug, but when they found it, they were in for the shock of their lives. Inside the stash of metal, hoarded away from a long war with the two, was a tearful and surprisingly adorable mini-mite. Wait, the mite isn't a monster. It's a mother, Della whispered in realization as she saw the mother mite try and feed her picky child. The mite isn't our enemy, it's just trying to survive. She put herself in danger, faced the unknown threats, scoured this entire planet for any scrap of metal, Luna whispered, stunned. Because a mother would do anything for the sake of her kids, Della replied, somewhat tearfully as they watched the mother continue to try and calm the child. An idea quickly sprang from her mind, and she walked towards the mites. Della, stop! Luna shouted in fear. You don't know what you're doing. I do, actually. Let me try something. I used to sing this old song for my boys before they hatched, Della reassured, and though the mother mite gave her a glare, showed no fear. Easy, girl. It's okay. I'm just here to help. Rule number 723. Respect nature and nature will respect you, right? And then she began to sing softly and slowly, but calmly and kindly. Look at the stars, my darling baby boys. Life is strange and vast, filled with wonders and joys. Face each new sun with eyes clear and true, unafraid of the unknown, because I'll face it all with you. Della sang, stroking the baby mite, and slowly its tears came to an end. And then she watched in awe, Luna joining her as the hostilities came to an end, and the months-long war between Mite, Duck, and Pony finally ceased. The flag of peace finally waved, and more importantly, a baby's hungry belly was being filled. All this time, Luna whispered as she watched the two burrow into the soil, they must have been starving. I guess me crashing here was a good thing after all, Della remarked. Of course it was a good thing, Luna laughed. It brought you to me and ended my centuries-long madness. Yeah, but, Della sighed as she looked at the stash, I feel wrong now taking the steel back. It's not even mine anymore, is it? It's theirs. But without the metal, I can't fix the rocket, and if I can't fix the rocket, I can't go home. Luna smiled at her. Don't worry, Della. We'll find you a way home. It may take longer, but somehow, in some way, I'll get you back to Jet, Turbo, and Rebel. Della laughed. You know, the more I think about it, the more I realize something. What? Luna questioned with a raised eyebrow, wondering just what was so funny as Della nearly doubled over in laughter. I don't get it. Finally, after several minutes, Della managed to regain her composure. Those are really stupid names, Luna snorted, letting out a little snicker. Yeah, I guess they are. In all honesty, she has always thought those were stupid names, but she had never had her heart to tell her friend. The years may have been long and tiresome, but through it all, she'd never lose hope, and Luna wasn't certainly about to start now. Somehow, in some way, they'd see their families again. She was counting on it. So that's the end of the story, and even though I don't know that much about DuckTales, I still think it was a very charming little story. Because I like stories like this. I like stories about Luna stuck on the moon and how she's coping with being all alone, and then these stories where they interject other characters to have her interact with. I think these are always really cute, and I like the relationship between the two. Luna feels alone because she was banished by her sister, and Della feels like she's abandoned her family and she wants to go home, and then eventually they come across each other and they form a friendship. And then I also like the little flashes of different adventures that they go on, the whole story about the moon mite and the offspring. That was really cute too, and I really enjoyed the story overall. May not know that much about DuckTales, but who knows? Now that it's over, maybe I'll have a better chance to, you know, I feel like I have something to do. It's okay, man. All good things must come to an end, but in our heart of hearts, they'll never truly be over. Thanks, man. That means a lot.